Hey everybody, it's Doug here, Douglas the Guy, Board Game Geek, and I'm bringing you my next episode of my top 50 cooperative and solo playable board games. Now, each time I start one of these sessions, I'm going to go through a quick retouch of what criteria I'm using for this list so you understand it. And so I'm going to do that right now. I'm going to get right into it. If you want to go back and see what the previous ones were, we are currently going to be doing 29 through 21. And the reason I'm stopping at 21 this time is because the next ones will be my top 20, and I think that's going to be interesting. I'm going to spend a lot more time on the top 20, maybe, on each game as it applies or is appropriate. So the criteria for this is it must be cooperative or solo, but cooperative and solo. There's only one solo only game that I included in here. And on that note, as we get there to this conversation, I want to do a shout out to the Dan Viersen games, DVG, because I do not have any of them included on this list. And one of the reasons why is one of my other criteria is kind of a accessibility barrier to entry. And some of the games from the Dan Viersen games, while they're fantastic war-type games, I call them chitty games. And I didn't say the other word, I said chitty, because they have small chits in them. And those types of games tend to be complicated and too complicated for people who just want to get around a table and have fun with a cooperative game or solo game. The DVG games are primarily solo or soloable, at least. And I'm thinking of the Flight Leader ones, Apache Leader, things like that. And then one of my favorite ones, Warfighter. Warfighter is great, but it's just too complicated for the average non-gamer, sometimes gamer person. You have to be pretty dedicated to gaming to like that. So I'm going to give a shout out to those because they're not in my top 50 for that reason. All fantastic games, just not quite applicable for this, what I'm trying to portray here. So have to be cooperative, have to be soloable, cannot be one versus many. I took all of those out unless they're the one versus many also had a completely cooperative version, which most of them don't. But there is one, and that'll come up. And then also cannot have a dedicated traitor type mechanic where somebody either is or becomes the bad guy during the game. So, for example, Betrayal on the House on the Hill. Wait, it's right over here. Where's that? Betrayal on, yeah, Betrayal. Yeah, well, you know the one I'm talking about. Anyway, at some point in time, the person becomes a traitor in that, and so I left that off, for example, even though it's a great game. So that's the criteria, and also, again, accessibility is another big deal. So some of these you might think, well, there's heavier, deeper games in the same category. That's true, but could you get any of your friends to jump in and enjoy it with you? One of the things the reasons that's a criteria is because I really like that aspect of cooperative gaming is everybody can be included. It's very inclusive, and I like that. Now, keep in mind, I play a lot of heavy strategic games. One of my favorite games of all time is Dominant Species, and no one will, by any stretch, say that's an easy game. I also like Through the Ages, games like that. I'm looking on my shelf for some of my other competitive ones. Troyes is one of my other favorites. Zolkin, one of my other favorite competitive games. So I like the heavy games, but when I'm talking cooperative, I like them to be accessible. Okay. That said, let's move on to the list. Now, this time we're going to start with number 21 and 29, and I'm going to venture to guess that this one's going to cause some dialogue because I think that people are going to believe that this isn't one that should be maybe on this list or wasn't as well received as some of the others, and that is XCOM, the board game. Yeah, cooperative with a real-time component, and there's some that have real-time components, but most of them, I think that's the only one that made my list. I love XCOM in general. I've played all of the computer games, every version of it throughout its history. XCOM 2, the one that just came out, was so phenomenal. And the board game, in some ways, does capture that essence. But what I like about it is you have two components. Much like this game behind me, London Dread, over here. you have a timed component where everybody has to do things in a rapid succession, and it has an app that kind of steps you through each piece. And I really like that. So you kind of go through, you step through, like the science guy, I gets to do his thing, and then the military guy gets to do his thing, and it's very cool. And then after that time space, you do all the execution. The time part stops, you do all the execution. I have yet to play a game, with the exception of maybe Escape the Temple, where at one point I stop and go, whew, and felt like stress release from just ending the round. XCOM, the board game, does that, and that's a unique experience in board games, and I haven't felt it much. You know, it's like an intense firefight in Battlefield or in Call of Duty on a computer game or whatever console you play. Crazy sense of adrenaline going. Well, XCOM actually evokes some of that if you learn to play it right and you have people that are willing to play it a few times, because you do get used to it. So I love that aspect of it, and I love the whole concept of the alien invasion, and you're this resistance force against the alien invasion, etc. Really good game. That's number 29, XCOM, the board game, which has a recent expansion as well. Okay. Number 28. Number 28. I'm going to tell you a story about number 28. I went to BGG Con. It had come out shortly before BGG Con, not this last one, but the one before, I believe. And we got there, and it was on. When I went through the vendor room, I saw it, and I said, "Yeah, let's pick that up and play it." So we did. We played, I don't know, 6 or 7 games in a row. It was so fun. We just kept, once we finished one, let's do the next one. Okay, finished, let's do the next one. And it's a legacy game, and that is Pandemic Legacy. Man, what a fun ride that was to get to the end of that game. It's really good. I'm not going to ruin any of the story elements for you, but I love the concept of the legacy games where you're opening up envelopes, little packets and stuff to find out what's going to happen next in your game. It's incredibly cool. And I really enjoyed that. We played it the heck out of it, and it's basically at its roots Pandemic. And Pandemic is a fantastic cooperative game. This one is just as good, but the problem is, and the thing that I didn't like about it is, or the thing that ranks it lower than, say, Pandemic might perhaps, is that it does have the legacy component, which makes it a little less accessible and requires that people get together multiple times. The one thing I found out with it is it's very hard to incorporate somebody later. You can, but it's just not that easy. So again, we had a blast with it, though. It was a lot of fun. We played it straight through and got to the end, and it has a lot of great moments in it. And at the end, you could play it. You could keep playing it and just play it with all this stuff that you've done already included. It doesn't seem as it doesn't seem like it would be as good that way. I think kind of once you're done with it, you're done with it. That's gonna be my thoughts on it. But I highly recommend it if you can get some people together on a regular basis, because you could run it 12, 20 times before you finish. I think 'cause if you failed a lot, you could run it as many as maybe 20 times, I guess. But you're not likely to fail the first few, especially if you've played Pandemic. But with that said, I think that pick it up. It's almost say it's fun. Pick it up if you can get some people together, and that's why it's not as high on my list as some other games, to play it, because you have to have some regular consistency in it to make it work. So anyway, that is number 28, and I just realized I think I need to adjust some lighting, and I'm going to do that, and I'll be right back. Okay, much better. I don't feel like I'm talking in a shadow anymore. I felt like I was looking under, yeah. Anyway, that was so we talked about number 28, Pandemic Legacy. Again, I'm going to recommend that yeah, you pick it up. Really fun. Okay, next up we're going to go with, I think, is this the first of my deck builders on this list? Perhaps I have to go, no, I got Pathfinder. That's not really a deck builder. Legendary Marvel, specifically. Is that correct? Let me look at that again. Legendary, yes, Legendary Marvel. So Legendary series of games are deck builder games where you can play competitively, cooperatively, and there is an element where somebody wins. But to me, that one person won by a points thing, it just doesn't feel like that's. It feels like you all won together. And in that, you are playing various Marvel heroes. You're going to draw cards and try and create sets that have synergies that you can play down in your turn. and take out villains in a storyline type thing where you have a mastermind who's got some evil plot and he's using specific villains that will come out and rampage through the city, and you have to take them out as a group. Buying new cards, adding them to your deck, playing new cards to the table, and you've got shield agents that allow you to acquire new cards, and you have a variety of cards for each hero that you have in your deck. And there's been many expansions, so I'm not even going to get into the concept of how many different heroes and unique abilities, etc., that you have available to you. It's just one big giant. I mean, you got the Guardians of the Galaxy, you got all the basic heroes, Iron Man, Wolverine, a lot of the X-Men, and there's again tons of expansions on the villains, on the heroes. There's Marvel Legendary Villains, which was really good. I actually did a playthrough that, quick play on my channel of that if you go back and look. And the card play, the card interaction is fantastic. It's very accessible. Everybody loves Marvel heroes. That makes it really good because people they look at it and go, oh man, I get to play this Captain America card. I love Captain America. Woohoo, that's awesome. And you're battling against all kinds of neat villains, and a lot of them have unique abilities, and they're henchmen. And sometimes the henchmen have abilities, and sometimes it can be pretty difficult game. I don't think it's one of the more difficult deck builders. I don't recall, once we got used to playing it, I don't think we lose it anymore. But it doesn't mean it's not challenging. It's just sometimes we've been tight, but we've always managed to pull it out and win. So that, and again, I think it's 4 players, and it's perfect. It's got a great board. The concept of the game is really straightforward. It's just a good game. That is Legendary Marvel, and that is going to be number 27. Now, as we move on to number 26, a lot of you are going to think that it should be higher on my list, because I know that a lot of you realize that I'm a big fan of this series. And so what I'm going to say is it's probably going to surprise you to see it's not higher on my list, but there's a reason for that, and you'll understand why. That is Zombicide. Okay, Zombicide was originally a Kickstarter from Guillotine Games through, I think, through Simon, so Cool Minis or Not. And man, when I first picked up the very first, it was called Season 1 of Zombicide. It was so fun. Oh my God, you got up to 5 or 6 people running around this board, encountering waves and waves of, building waves of zombies while you're trying to accomplish certain goals. Maybe it's get keys to a certain room, or gather certain equipment, or escape to just the other end of the board. Meantime, you're getting weapons like shotguns, and you could dual wield pistols and do all this heroic stuff and die. You die a lot. It can be it can be one of those games where it seems like everything's going fine, and then all of a sudden you have a bad moment, and suddenly everybody's dropping like flies. They combated those mechanics in some of the later seasons with the zombivores, which means you can then convert into a kind of a quasi-zombie hero, which at the end, whether you win or lose, you turn into a zombie and die anyway. But overall, the experience is it's really a lot of fun. It has a massive amount of tension to it as you're trying to get through this scenario, whatever scenario you're playing. The one thing I'm going to tell you, there's a secret sauce to it that does make you more successful when you're playing, and that is keep moving. If you end up stuck and standing still for any length of time, you're going to get overrun, and zombies are just going to keep flooding in. It's like getting closed off in the bunker and having nowhere to go, and an endless stream of zombies coming at you. So you got to keep moving in that game, which actually adds to the tension and the fun of it, because you're always trying to figure out how do I keep advancing myself forward and clearing the way for myself and my compadres. And sometimes you can think you're doing the right thing and you just step in it and it just comes back at you. The game just comes back at you hard and takes you down. Each individual plays a character, and the characters have all fairly unique abilities. I found as I gathered more of the Kickstarter, remember this was a Kickstarter game, as I gathered more of the expansions and all the Kickstarter stuff that came with it, that some of the characters started feeling samey, and even though the artwork was different and cool, the characters themselves weren't that unique. And that was for some of them. I'm not saying they're all that way. A lot of them were really unique, and I thought they were great. It was just a few. And so some of them I'm like, well, that's kind of the same character. They just have a different cool picture. And then they entered as the expansions came out, or the new seasons came out in Kickstarter. They started introducing different types of zombies. You had the toxic zombies from Toxic City Mall expansion, where the zombies were now in, they were all nasty, filled with toxins, and when you killed them, they'd explode. So you had to kill them from a distance. And then as you went on further seasons, had these berserker zombies, which could only be killed in hand-to-hand combat and were virtually immune to any ranged weapons. And of course, the thing that adds the most tension is the big abominations that come out. Massive zombie mutated creatures that come out that can only be killed by weapons you never start with and have a hard time finding, like the Molotov cocktail, big firebomb, right? And anyway, Zombicide, great game. The artwork's great, the theme is great, the atmosphere is great, just all around fun. Very accessible because it's not difficult. Once you explain the rules once to somebody, they go, I get 3 actions. In those actions, I can do these things. And you got this sliding experience point, which I think is always gratifying in a game where you have something that makes your character feel like he's advancing, like getting better. And that definitely happens in Zombicide. The only downside to that is once you've completed a scenario and you go on the next one, your guide just starts all over again. There's no like story progression like in a legacy game like Pandemic Legacy, where your character, the things you add to your character are actually stickers and they're permanent, and they add to the character for the duration. Only drawback is Zombicide, and there's been some fixes to that through some online scenarios, big like campaigns that tell you, in this campaign you can advance up to this level and then stop, and then advance to this level and stop, and the difficulties are managed through that process. That's good. So that is number 26, Zombicide. Really good game. Now, the next one is going to be a departure because I said in all my rules that it could not be a one versus many game. However, it came out with a full box expansion that took that away and made it cooperative. So we're talking about number 25 at this point. It's also, the theme is great. The mechanics are really good. Not too tactically difficult, but enough that a veteran gamer will enjoy it, while at the same time a new gamer will be able to catch on easy enough with just a little help. And that is Dungeon Saga. I've tried to get it to the table a couple times, almost had it ready, and then something else came along that I said, I got to get this out first to put on the show. Dungeon Saga is a dungeon crawler with scenarios, and you have this evil bad guy that's controlling the monsters. In the base game, it is a one versus many game. So that means there is a overlord that's controlling the actions of the bad guys, a necromancer dude, and the players control the heroes, and the scenarios build up. And the first one you actually only play 2 heroes. The second one you only play 2 heroes, and then in the third one they all come together. That's really the start of the campaign. So if you're going to play with a lot of people, you kind of got to start there, and that's fine. Great mechanics, great plastic bits, like you got doors and chests and bookshelves and things, because they can get in the way, and you got tons of monsters to fight. And as I look at deck builders, dungeon crawlers, the reason this one's so high on my list, or on my list where some of them aren't, is just because it plays very smoothly. It's not awkwardly complicated or anything like that. It's just great, and it's nowhere near the one that I have at my top whatever or the top couple that I have, but it's definitely very, very enjoyable. So again in Dungeon Saga, you got a couple different characters you can play. It's expanded. It's been expanded a few times with more scenarios, more monsters, more tactics, and again the second box allows it to be completely cooperative, and that's why it made my list. And I mean, we're not talking about a small box. We're talking about a big box that expands the whole cooperative element of it. Pretty neat. Anyway, that one, guys, I highly recommend Dungeon Saga. It's a fantastic game, and it looks really good on the shelf too, because they designed it to look like big tomes, like a book, and so it's really neat. So you got these big bookshelf things on the shelf. You pull them out and put them down, open them up, and there's just tons of stuff inside it. Well worth the price tag, or wherever you can get it. Dungeon Saga. A lot more to come for that, I believe, and I think it's going to be well worth it. Another game that's coming out that's a fantasy version of Galaxy Defenders called Sword and Sorcery might take its place for me. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see when it comes out. Okay, that is number 25. So 24, it would be even higher on my list because it's fantastic, but it's not inherently cooperative. It's only cooperative through the introduction of an app, at least in the base game. I think there might be an expansion. Honestly, I haven't followed it closely enough to know. There might be an expansion that does it in the cards too. And I know if you go on BoardGameGeek.com and look in the files, there's numerous files, numerous rule sets that give you the ability to make it co-op. But it's not co-op out of the box, and that's something I didn't include as variants that people created for it. So with the app, it is cooperative. The other reason it's not higher on my list than this is it's rather complicated. That is going to be Descent 2.0 from Fantasy Flight Games. It is a fantasy-based dungeon crawler like Dungeon Saga. The reason I haven't ranked one higher than Dungeon Saga is that it's got a lot more to it. It's just got a lot more depth to it. So conversely, while I like accessibility, I do like some level of depth, and there's a lot of strategy and tactics to Descent 2.0, and your character does progress and throughout the campaign, and it feels like you're getting better as you go. It's just really cool, in a really cool, satisfying way. And the app is fantastic. The app's really good. It's not a matter of the app. It's just, and that didn't draw. The app itself wasn't a drawback for me. The drawback for me, and the reason it's ranked in this range in a better range, is because the app was an after-market product, not part of the base package. And while it's fantastic, you absolutely need it. You can't play without it, which is fine too. But that's where it ranked. And also, it has these mechanics that are a little quirky sometimes, and it has a great reference book with it. Like all the Fantasy Flight games, they have the rules, and then they have a rule reference book because they know that there's some complexities within some of their games. That's fine too, but that's why it's ranked where it is. And so if I was going to pick a dungeon crawler, there are some higher on my list, and we'll get there to those, I promise you. But Descent 2.0 is really good, and the app is very well done. Not as well done as an app for another dungeon crawler game, which we'll talk about in a future episode. Okay, that is number 24, Descent 2.0. Okay. Hold on, number 23, I got to take a look at this because you're not going to believe what my son just did. He went and altered my list and put Minecraft as number 23 on my list. So now I have to go try and remember what number 23 was. Thanks, son. Appreciate it. Okay, funny guy. Anyway, Minecraft probably, if there was a cooperative version of Minecraft, it probably would rank fairly high on my list, but there isn't one. Okay, so number 23. This one is by one of my favorite cooperative type game publishers. It's had several like smaller box expansions to its big giant box that encompasses the main game, and it, like another game, were kind of a catalyst to one of my favorite games of all time. We'll get there for sure. The thing I like about this game is it does have this sense of tension to it as well as you're playing. It can be played and another thing I like about this game, can be played competitive, can be played semi-cooperative, and can be played completely cooperative. We almost always play it completely cooperative. I don't think we've actually ever, well, that's not true. I haven't played it in a long time as a competitive game. That is Fortune and Glory by Flying Frog Productions. Fortune and Glory is a game where you are globetrotting in kind of the World War II era. It's a very Indiana Jones storyline, but it's called Fortune and Glory, the cliffhanger game. And the reason why is you have these adventure cards that you draw to accomplish goals. And these goals are called cliffhangers. And you have a card, you have these things you have to solve, and then if you fail it, there's this cliffhanger. You wait, and then you have to wait, and then flip the card over on your next turn to find out what craziness happens to you, and the stack of cards is big. So you get to find out what the insanity that happens to you in that, and you get to adventure. And if you're playing cooperatively, you're usually doing it against an evil group. It could be the Nazis or the Crimson Hand cult, which is kind of like a Cthulhu-style cult of bad guys. And this is on the real world. And during this, it's a very card and luck dice-driven game. If you don't like dicey games with lots of dice chucking and luck, this is not going to be your game. But there are ways to mitigate the dice. There are ways to manage the dice. But trust me, luck is a major factor, and that can be annoying. That's true of a lot of the Flying Frog games. even ones like the ones higher on my list that I talked about earlier, Conquest of Planet Earth rather. Dice chucking can really change the game for you, and that is very true of Fortune and Glory. Though I will pull out Fortune and Glory anytime. The only other drawback to Fortune and Glory, as great as the game is it can be really long. It can be a pretty long, drawn-out game over time, and if you're playing with younger people where attention spans might be a problem, they'll really enjoy it for the first hour. Then maybe it'll drag on too much for them. But it doesn't for adults like me, and I'm used to playing like 3-hour games. It doesn't really drag on for me. And I enjoy it immensely, and it's a very satisfying Indiana Jones style game. I would highly recommend it to the board's really nice. The cards are so the older cards. I noticed they didn't do this with some of their newer games, but the older Flying Frog cards used to have this like plastic coating on them, so they were different than other cards. It was unusual. They also used to do a lot of actual photography characters, and I actually liked it. A lot of people didn't. I actually thought it was cool, where you had like real people pictured and they were in the scenes. And yeah, it was cheesy and campy, but it kind of was supposed to be. So I really actually don't mind that aspect of it at all. Really enjoy it. So again, that is Fortune and Glory, the cliffhanger game, 23. We're on the scale of the list that I'm on now. If I were you and you like the games I like, and you like the games I'm talking about, I would go find a way to trade and acquire for all these games. Fortune and Glory is so fun, and it's not something I can pull out every week because it is long, but it really does have some great aspects to it. That is number 23, Fortune and Glory. Okay, 22. 22. Why is it? You're going to think that if you heard my commentary, because people who've gone back and watched this knew I really like this game, and I do. I mean, anything in my top 50 I like. I had over 100 on my list that I played. Also, if I haven't played a game, that's the other thing. Like I'm going to tell you right now, Arkham Horror, the card game, is not on my list because by the time I put this list together, I had not played it myself. Everything on here I've played, and that's that. So, out of the 100 games plus cooperative solo type games I've played, including all the Dan Viersen games, now I did not play this one yet. So if I haven't played it, it's not on the list. Anyway, number 22 is Healthy Heart Hospital. This is by Victory Point Games, probably one of my other top favorite publishers, along with Flying Frog and Fantasy Flight. They do really good cooperative type games. We'll get to some more of them as we go. But Healthy Heart Hospital is you take on the role of you're a doctor, administrative level type doctor running this hospital, and you're trying to see as many patients as you can before your debt becomes so significant you can't overcome it. And you're trying to balance the budget of the hospital with the needs of the patients. And you can't have the death count go too high because otherwise your insurance claims get too high and you run out of money. The mechanics are fantastic. Go back and watch my playthrough. It's on my playlist. And I was going to do notes but on the corner, but I realized I would have too many each turn. So one where you can actually click on it and go to the episode or whatever. But all I have to do is go into my playlists, and you'll see the playlist for Healthy Heart Hospital there. Highly recommend you watch it. It's really cool. I've played it a number of times since, and it's a very satisfying game. It really feels like you're trying to accomplish the sense of taking this broken down hospital and revamping it. The characters are all really unique. The way you treat things, you can actually open up other wings of the hospital as you go and build the hospital out, which gives you more benefits, more beds to put people in, and some specialty rooms that allow you to do certain things. The characters themselves all have a special ability that they can use, and it's got a very unique action point system, reminiscent of a couple of the other games, but not the same. So I don't want to liken them because they're not the same. It just has a feel that they took that mechanic and said, let's tweak it and make it this. How the action points roll out for the characters, and you have flip little tokens for the actions they have, and they can gain more action tokens. That reminds me of another Victory Point game, which will probably get mentioned in the near future. So that is Healthy Heart Hospital. And again, at this point, I'm probably going to stop telling you pick this one up, because you definitely will want to pick this one up if you like the games I like. Healthy Heart Hospital is really good. if you're going to add it to your cooperative collection, this would be one I'd add. It's not a flashy game, and none of the Victory Point games are, except for these new ones that they're kickstarting with all enhanced components and these what they call master editions or whatever, like they did with Darkest Night last year with Darkest Night 2, and now Darkest Night 3 is coming out, and I've had the prototype, or rather the beta version of that on my channel twice now, I think. And it's fantastic. But so this is like one of their older box games. It's got really good components. It's just not flashy. It's not like a Fantasy Flight game with awesome minis and stuff like that. Gameplay's great though. So that's Healthy Heart Hospital number 22. Now we're going to get to the last one on my list for today, and this is a classic, an old classic that will never die for me. And you'll understand why when I say it, and that is Shadows of Camelot. This is not a new game. It is a older game that was really one of the first cooperative games I actually ever played. And it's hard. It's not easy to win. But you play one of the Knights of the Round Table, and you're using cards to affect certain things. And you go to that area, and you're drawing cards from that area, and you're playing cards that do certain, that have numbers and stuff. I'm not going to get into all the details of the rules. There's some cards on the screen. But as you play, you're trying to defeat these various elements. Everything from, I think it's Normans coming in and catapulting Camelot, to fighting the Black Knight, to defeating a dragon, to capturing the Holy Grail. And it's kind of a hand management cooperative game where you can die and it could be bad, but you're playing one of the, again, King Arthur or Sir Gawain, any one of the knights from the Round Table. And again, this is not a new game. This is one that, I don't even know, it should be fairly easy to find still. And I bet you, if you looked on Board Game Geek or went for a trade or something, you could find it pretty easily. And it's very accessible. It's not mechanically difficult. It's difficult to win. And that, to me, is very... When I have a game that I play, and I'm going to mention another one that's very much this case, that is really hard to win, and I lose a lot, but still want to keep coming back for more, that's a good game. Shadows of Camelot is one of those, and there's an expansion that gives you miniatures, painted miniatures and all that stuff. Yeah, add that to it if you can. It's worth it, just to have the Merlin figure running around and all that good stuff. Anyway, that's Shadows of Camelot, or Shadows over Camelot, rather. Sorry, really fun cooperative game, great for the family. It's Days of Wonder, I believe. I'm trying to look at it on my shelf. Days of Wonder, which puts out really amazing games. They only put out, like, Days of Wonder only puts out a couple games a year, but when they do, man, they really do it up with the components and everything. It turns out really nice, and that was one of them. So that is my 29 through 21, guys. Tell me what you think. Are you a huge fan of Shadows of Camelot? Do you think I underrated Zombicide? Do you think I shouldn't have included Dungeon Saga? Let me know, because we're about to get into the meat, my top 20, and then of course I'm going to do 20 through 11, and then I'm going to do my top 10. And I'm going to tell you guys, I kind of cheated in my top 20 because there's a couple of ties. So my top 20 is actually 22, but I think we can all live with that, right? But while I'm talking about it, I do want to do some another honorable mention. One I almost concluded, because sometimes, even though this game is definitely not cooperative, it just feels that way, and it has an adventure game to it. I almost got on my list, and I said, no, it's not fair. It's not a cooperative game. It has Talisman, another old game, originally put out by Games Workshop, and then acquired and put out by Fantasy Flight Games. I got all the expansions for it and everything. It's a massively long undertaking. It's like you sit down and you can plan to play it for 4 hours, and you're basically running around these boards with these heroes trying to complete adventures and get the crown, or as time went on, a whole bunch of other stuff came out. But I'm going to mention it because when you sit around a table and play it, definitely you can attack each other and stuff, and there's a winner. But it just has this adventuring aspect of it that kind of makes it feel like it's a cooperative, less competitive game. So that's getting kind of an honorable mention. It probably would have fallen in my top 30 for sure if it had some full cooperative component to it. Anyway, guys, that is 29 through 21. Again, let me know what you think. Tell me what, if, you know, did I, the one of the things I figured I may have underrated, and I did it because when you end the game, it kind of ends with Pandemic Legacy. It's truly a fantastic game, and I'm looking forward to more Legacy style games. We're playing through Seafall, I'm about halfway through Seafall, and it's good, and we lost track of our group, and we got to get them back together and finish it. And I think that happened because it's not as good as Pandemic Legacy. It's different. It's different. It's not. We're enjoying it, but it's not quite the Pandemic Legacy type experience. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. I hope to see you again for the next episode. We're about to really get into the meat of the games that will be making my top 20 list, or 22. And I think you'll enjoy that. Again, if I didn't play a game, it's not going to be on this list. So some of the games, like I'm looking at one that I don't know if it would have made my list or not. I'm looking at two right now, actually. Mythos Tales, which I got recently as a Kickstarter. I haven't played it yet. It's like the Cthulhu version of Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective. And I didn't include Sherlock Holmes in this because even though it's a cooperative game, it's more like a deductive game. And it didn't make my list because it's kind of not a board game. And neither is Mythos Tales, kind of not a board game. It's a game, for sure. And the other one was Dead Men Tell No Tales. It didn't make my list because I haven't played it. It's been on my shelf and I haven't played it yet. So just give you some examples of things that you might ask yourself, hey, why wasn't this on there? Why wasn't that on there? Well, those are the reasons why. So, that being said, guys, thanks again. I appreciate it. Take care, and I'll see you for the top 22 games on my solo cooperative game list. Thanks. Take care. Bye-bye.